Welcome to the Pocket Scout Hunting YouTube channel. Today we are talking about turkey calls. I've got 6 calls in front of me, and you can see I've got them spaced out. So on this side you have what are called locators. On this side are just general response. You want them to come to you. First things first, we're going to go over pros and cons of each one. So the first one, usually people call that a push call because you push it. So it's 2 pieces of wood. The top one's spring loaded. That's why it'll push back on you with a little dusting of chalk between them, and it makes a turkey noise. Cons to this, if it's in your pocket and you have that up against your leg and you're walking, it's gonna make noise. So you should actually put something in between there, or even just take the spring off, and then that won't make any noise. Another con, I guess, would be volume. It's not overly loud, it's okay, but if you're really looking to cover some distance, I wouldn't really use this. A pro though, is that you're sitting on the ground, let's say you're not in a blind, and turkeys are obviously susceptible to a lot of motion and movement. You don't want to be seen. So you have this down by your side, and say you have your gun or your bow in your lap, and this is just very minimal movement. It's just my finger. So when they're nice and close, they're not really going to see that, but it's loud enough for them to hear if they're right there. Next one is peg and slate. So if this is newer, they usually come with a little piece of sandpaper. So you're supposed to scuff up the surface to make it more coarse so it'll actually make a noise. And you rub this peg against the slate in certain patterns to make different calls. So if you go into C, that'll make a typical hen noise. Or you can purr, so kind of hold it more perpendicular to the slate and just find a little groove where it'll kind of jump across slowly. Or you can cluck, and you just basically... Pros to this, these have actually improved a lot over the last few years. They're a lot louder than they used to be, in my experience, and that's probably just the design of the base. And they come with different pegs too for different tones of turkeys, maybe a juvenile hen or a mature hen. Cons, you need 2 hands. So if all of a sudden the he pops out of the bush, you have to figure out how to put this down, and you're not in a blind at this point. If you're in a blind, a lot of these concerns kind of go away with movement. But let's say a turkey jumps out of the bush, and now you have to figure out how to put these away and then pick up your weapon without him seeing you. If you want to go that route, that's up to you, but it's going to take a long time. This one's called a box call. Why is it called that? It's a box. And it's almost the same concept as the push call, where it's 2 pieces of wood that slide against each other with some chalk. And you slide them, you can see that piece is chalked up right there. And you can do different things with it. Pros to this is about as loud as turkey calls get. This is insanely loud. Cons, I guess, would be transportation. So if you want to throw this in your pocket, that's gonna rub. So while you're walking in or out of the bush, put something in between here, like a paper towel or something, and then use a rubber band and wrap it around so that it won't move. Another con is 2 hands and lots of movement if you're not in a blind. So this takes, to get that volume, this takes a ton of movement. And if there's a turkey looking your direction, and they usually will be if you're trying to call them in, they'll see you right away with that much movement. So I usually carry 2, even 3 of these calls to change my call or technique depending on how the situation changes. And I would recommend you do the same. These are locators. So turkeys are easily startled, and they have a funny reflex that when they get startled, they gobble, the male turkeys anyway. So this is a crow call. And the reasoning is that it's just another larger bird species in the area and it startles them. So let's say you're walking in, the sun's kind of starting to come up over the horizon. You can see the light, like the sky lighting up. So if you're, don't do this right in your spot. Make sure you're 40 or 50 yards away so they won't pinpoint this noise to exactly where you're sitting. So yeah, 40, 50 yards away from your spot, you're on your way in, and you can wake them up and hear them call out from the roost, and you'll locate them and know exactly where they are. So you just blast a crow call. That's it, you just blow into it really hard. And then they'll gobble right back right away if they're in the area. This is an owl call, but for turkeys obviously, but it makes owl noises. As far as I know, same concept, is that it's just another larger kind of predatory bird in the area and it startles them. So this isn't as loud as the crow call, but same kind of concept. So you just blow on it. And that's it. And usually if they're within earshot of that, they'll gobble and then you know where they are. And this is an actual turkey gobble call. I've never actually used one of these in the field, but the concept behind this is that it's another tom in the area or mature male turkey. So you shake it and it'll get his attention and he'll go, well, who's that? There's another, now I have competition in the area. And he'll gobble back and try and size you up kind of thing. Well, that's the video for today. That sums up most of the turkey calls you would ever use. The one thing I did miss is mouth calls. I'm not really into that. That takes a crazy amount of practice and it drives my family nuts. So if you want to try that, you go right ahead, because then it can get really loud and it's just in your mouth. So there's no movement, especially if your face is covered. It's probably, if you're willing to commit and put the time in, mouth call would probably be the best out of all these. But if you don't want to do that, just grab a couple of these calls. Our next video I want to do coming into turkey season is decoys. There's a real science behind decoys, so I'm really trying to write an official script for that one. I mean, you could write almost a small book on how to set them up, what decoys to put out, positioning, direction they're facing, how you should treat them, all those variables depending on how the turkeys in your area are behaving and what the flock or population looks like. Pretty interesting stuff. I hope you like that one too. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for more tips.
If you enjoyed this video, go to the Pocket Scout Hunting YouTube channel. We put out new material about hunting tips and adventures all the time, especially around on-peak hunting seasons. Thanks for watching.